Hello and welcome to the channel, it's Irad, welcome back. And so the time has come to discuss an Inside Star Citizen. I wasn't that excited about the one last week, so much so I didn't even put the highlight on the second channel, but this one I'm interested. I love cargo running. I even like to do that in Starfield too, even though it's super basic compared to Star Citizen. So I'm really looking forward to checking out the new details that are coming up for this profession. That is one episode I've been waiting to see for quite some time. Here we go.
Looking at the way that our teams are structured, especially after the Montreal merger with Turbulence, we decided to combine USPU as well as Montreal PU into NAPU.
NAPU stands for North American
That's really something that makes sense
Universe.
here because they've got some really talented people in Canada. They bought Turbulent, obviously, so now it's Cloud Imperium against Montreal, I believe. And it definitely makes sense that they are going to try to find some kind of synergy between those teams to create more content for the game, which desperately needs at this point, especially for some of the less fleshed out profession, cargo being one of them.
Is the regroupment of 3 different cities
In order to kind of create a super team that gives them a lot of coding firepower as well as design firepower.
NAPU is really a collection of people from Austin, from LA, from Montreal.
We're all just getting together to try to make some amazing new features for Star Citizen PU.
And it makes sense that they are being regrouped here as a team simply because, well, I said, North America, they share the same time zone, so to speak. No, of course, no. I know that those in LA would not have the same time zone as in Montreal. I know that. But it's definitely going to be much easier to work together with that team than if they are working, between North America and also the UK at the same time.
So that
And
includes
Lyon, let's not
physicalized
forget
cargo,
Lyon, France too.
in-game shops, and newer features
Chad
that we're
McKinney, long
looking
time no
into,
see,
such
my
as
gosh.
exploration. We're working on mostly currently cargo and things regarding that. We recently finished work on the Hull C. NAPU was formed in order to work on larger feature sets for Star Citizen, so that those features have the time and resources required to deliver them at the quality level that we want to see. NAPU includes several engineers, production, and QA.
We have 6 different programmers, actually. We have a few that are in LA, and then we have a few more in Austin.
Right now that includes James, Mitch, Kevin, myself, as well as Preston on production and Alicia in QA. Did I say everyone?
We have
That is not a lot for that team. It's not a surprise because, well, we all know that most of the staff at Cloud Imperium Games are working on Star Citizen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 people. Well, I hope that they're going to be effective and bring in some interesting gameplay because, well, we also need that, right? But I'm pretty sure we're gonna know more about all of that during CitizenCon. Obviously, I'm quite confident that they're probably going to have their own panel, which would make sense given how important those new features are going to be important for the rest of the development of the game, right?
2, Mathieu and Emma, that are here in Montreal.
Yes, I think I got them all.
Oh, that's
So
10.
at this point, a lot of what
11.
we're working on is still in the design phase.
I would say in the technical design and planning phase, but yeah.
there's a lot of TDD, like technical design document going on, preparing the feature and all the parts. There's a lot of work in that area.
Oh dear, so it means it's still early work. We're not going to be seeing cargo improvements for a while, guys.
The North American Persistent Universe team are currently at the forefront of the next major evolution of cargo, hangar, and related inventory systems. And as their work begins to enter the PU over the next 3 to 6 to 9 months and beyond,
I thought he was going to say years, Could be. It says 3 to 9 months. Yeah, it could be years. We are used to that.
all building to what we hope will collectively become a true cargo career, we here at ISC, well, we didn't want to wait to begin telling the story. As much like the engineering and resource management systems of the EU-PU team, this work promises to be utterly transformative to the overall Star Citizen experience.
Wow, I'm looking forward
So
to
these
knowing
next
that.
2 shows, well, they're going to be a bit different than normal. That's because we're not going to have anything to dazzle your eyeballs with just yet. Yes, the ISC gameplay capture team, as great as they are, well, we're going to let them take a break this week as we let members of the NAPU team take you through the design and intention of their current work in a 2-part special we're calling Design Brief Cargo Career.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess I'm going to put some B-roll of the whole sea, right? When I put the rest on YouTube. But yeah, let's see. Probably it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of comment. But yeah, no No footage. So sad. Well, that kind of is.
The focus of NAPU in the foreseeable future is going to include features such as freight elevators and instance hangars, as well as persistent hangars. Freight elevators are...
We definitely need that, right? Persistent hangars so that we can put our commodities inside. They stay there, they persist, depending on, let's say, we have to leave, we come back. Eventually, the server crashes with server meshing. They will be persisting as well.
One of the biggest changes to cargo that we've seen in the entire history of the game. They bring the feature from being something that's somewhat magical to something that's physical.
Nice.
It adds friction, but also a gameplay experience around hauling cargo in our game.
And that's what I love about Star Citizen so much. When you play Starfield, for example, you do a cargo mission, you click a few buttons, boom, the cargo is magically in your cargo hold. You transport the cargo to its destination, you arrive, boom, it's magically out. You don't do anything. Star Citizen is not going to be like that. No. Star Citizen is going to simulate what life would be in the 30th century, but still, cargo is not going to magically disappear. That is not how life works. And that's what they were trying to recreate with Star Citizen, and I love this initiative.
This one addition, I think, is going to change not just cargo, but also the way that we interact with everything else in the game. Inventory, player items, purchases, ship items. It's a fundamental change to how players are going to deal with the world. Freight elevators are going to be implemented as an access point inside of player hangars,
where the player can interface with cargo to get it ready to put it on their ship.
And
now, are we talking about player-owned hangars here, or are we going to talk about the regular hangars that we are assigned when we are at the space station?
You'll use a kiosk to interact with the freight platform in order to call things up from your inventory or to put things into your inventory. The way that the freight elevators are going to be implemented is actually using the same technology as we use for the cargo grids and the ships.
Okay.
Players will be using their tractor beams in order to detach things from the platform and then haul it onto their ship, and vice versa. They'll be using the tractor beams in order to detach things from the cargo grids and put them onto the freight platform.
And then that's where we'll go down to some kind of imaginary cargo deck, right? And that's where everything will be despawning, I suppose, from the game.
I think that this is going to make the whole experience feel a lot more tactile and organic, as well as there's a lot of fun and interesting gameplay around just how you stack things, how you sequence them, take a group of people, decide how you're actually going to load things together. It's like that time that you go and move with a U-Haul and your friends, you got to figure out where to put the couch, but in-game. It's going to
But instead, it's going to be how to figure out to put the 32 SCU cargo container, right? Oh, having a C2 Hercules is going to be a lot of fun. You're going to spend an hour unloading and loading your thing just to make a few 100,000 credits. That's what it is.
to be figuring out where do we take that big box, where do we put the ship items, where do we put the guns, and try to sequence it in a way that's both optimal as well as, I think, fun.
We don't just want to have the feature exist in a void. Really what we want to try and do is work with the whole scope of the game to support cargo. So this is something for outposts,
Okay.
for UGF, where we want to look at how do we really take advantage of cargo in these spaces.
It would be great if we could also transfer cargo from UGF to our ships and vice versa. If UGFs could become a place where we could do deliveries as well.
However, it does mean that the outposts will also support the same manual loading process that the hangars and those other locations
Because
use.
they don't have hangars.
Not only are you participating in cargo, in a hangar, in a station, but out in the verse as well, at an outpost.
Okay.
And while
That's
freight
great. That's great. I hope that eventually NPCs will be able to that we'll be able to hire NPCs to do that for us. I think that they talked about that it might be the plan eventually, and that's definitely going to be hell. Can you imagine unloading and offloading an entire C2 Hercules by yourself? That's a job for 5-6 people, not one.
elevators will be available throughout locations in the Persistent universe. Much of the work involved in manually loading and unloading your vehicles will
Jared?
always involve your hangars,
Soon.
which presented the team with some unique challenges to address and overcome, starting with the next iteration of instanced hangars.
Okay, all right.
Instanced hangars solve a particular problem. How do we have people spending an extended period of time in their hangar loading cargo now that we've added these freight platforms, but also allow the locations to have traffic coming in and out of the landing zones?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point. Because, as I said, you have a C2 Hercules. There are so many... there's only so many C2 hangars for C2 Herculeses, right? I think it's like some places only have like 2. So it's really not a lot. So you're spending an hour unloading, loading your C2 Hercules, but you got lots of other people with C2 Herculeses. How do we handle that, right? That's where instances are going to come in.
What we're doing here is decoupling the access
and that's
to
where server
a
meshing
hangar
is going
from
to be very
the
important
occupancy.
as well.
And all that really means is that we can dynamically create these hangars at runtime, and they're kind of set aside for players to spend time inside of.
Without getting too much into it, right? You're going to have a personal space. We're just looking at ways that a lot more players can do this simultaneously.
We don't want to have a big choke point of everybody
Server
trying
meshing.
to load their ships and unload,
Server meshing,
and all
guys.
trying to do that in the same space. So we have instance hangars as a way to put you in an area where you can feel comfortable, you can take the time that you want to load your or unload your cargo, and really engage in that system the way that you choose.
And so you can actually have your personal space to deal with cargo inside a hangar. And depending on your ship, there'll be different situations and different locations for that.
But the thing
Yeah, but let's see. What I hope is that we're going to have more hangars in those stations. Because let's say, for example, I'm in hangar 10. I'm unloading and loading my cargo. And then some kind of friend who wants to join me, but who's not in the group, says, "Hey, Erad, I want to join. I want to help you out. Where are you?" I say, "I'm at hangar 10. They go to hangar 10, but it's a different hangar 10 because it's a different instance. See what I mean? So they also need to find a way to make sure that people do find their way around to the people they want to see, even if they're not in the same group.
with this one is that when you leave, things gonna basically go away.
Once you want to leave, you'll just make a request to ATC, and the hangar will move into place. We'll open up the doors and you'll be able to leave. And then the same thing when landing, you make a request to ATC. The system will allocate the space for you, open the hangar, and you can land. For the players, it will seem seamless, but underneath the hood, the system itself is going to be maintaining a representation of where all the players are, what requirements are needed, without having a bottleneck for players who are actually just trying to play the game otherwise. And then we have persistent hangars.
All right,
persistent
so
hangars.
that is a concept visualization. This is not real, right? It's the gameplay capture team that did all of this. Great work, guys. It looks pretty cool.
Hangars are kind of an evolution of instant hangars. And really what it is it's our first step towards real player ownership in the game beyond ships.
The cool thing is that you'll be able to put your stuff in it, come back to it, and it's still gonna be there.
It's just whatever the player wants to keep inside their hangar, that's their home.
Nice.
They can just leave them lie around, they can arrange them however they want, be it weapons or cargo or dead corpses or whatever.
Very, very long term. I have no
I know
clue
my
of
hangar is going to be
any
a mess.
dates or anything, but you'll be able to customize it and upgrade it so it becomes bigger. You can have bigger ships in them.
I've always sucked at this. It's a feature I like. I really enjoy it, but I've always sucked. But let me know in the comment section down below, guys. How good are you at organizing your own spaces in games? I'm terrible. If you would see my outpost right now in Starfield, for example, it's a huge mess. It doesn't look like anything. And that's probably how the hangar is going to be in Star Citizen as well. That's okay.
And maybe
I guess
at some
we're all
point
a lot
even
of-
having
lots of
them
people
like
are that, I
at
suppose.
distant location, you could buy a second one. For now, it's gonna really be on your own location.
It's persistent to you and your character. And you can invite friends to your hangar, you can load up your ship, you can take the haul from your mission, out of your ship and distribute it to your buddies. So
Can we
persistence
put
of
several
hangars
ships inside?
is really
I suppose we
important.
can.
This is going to be developed more in the future, and we're going to use the same technology that we're using to build this for other things in the game, such as player hubs. And
Nice.
it's a real, I think, exciting way for the players to feel like they have a more permanent place in the game that they can call their own.
All right, so they're going to start first with the hangars, and then it will continue with player hubs. How about player orgs also? It would be great for player orgs to have their own office in the game too, but that's also, of course, another topic for another day.
I can't help but notice the ISC gameplay capture team snuck some conceptual visualization in there after all.
Yeah.
What can I say? They love what they do. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that everything you're hearing about today is the current intention of the design team at the time that we film this. Now, as with all things you see and hear about on any ISC, it's always a work in progress.
Yes.
And may, and often will, continue to evolve as development progresses and concepts are tested.
Which we've seen
Now,
that time
so
and
far
time
in our
again.
Design Brief cargo career, we've talked about how you'll move and store your boxes. So let's find out more about what happens inside those boxes going forward.
Oh, inside.
With 320, we introduced a new packing system that allows us to use a larger set of box sizes.
Oh. Oh. Oh, they look so cool. Now behind me here's the one SCU. There's a 2 SCU, so it's basically that's gonna be 4 here. Perhaps 6 or 8. That's definitely the big one's the 32 one. That is so cool.
Right now, that includes 1 SCU, 2, 4, 8, 16, 24, and 32. However, with this new version of Cargo coming out subsequently, we're going to be adding the ability to have what we call inventory container boxes.
Inventory actually plays a big part of cargo as well.
So
When
that's
you look
probably where we're gonna be putting the guns that we have or the armor, I guess.
at the sheer scope of number of boxes and number of weapons and armor and FPS entities that we have in our game, we really want to make sure that not only is cargo physicalized, but that inventory has a proper location and place as well.
If you go to Port Tressler and you hit I, you'll bring up the player inventory screen, and you'll
that's
see
one fat
that,
armor,
okay,
yeah.
I have my access to Port Tressler inventory no matter where I am standing in the station. That's going to go away. This is very
Nice.
important because what it means is it gives the players a way to transfer in a very clean and effective way all of the loose items that you collect during gameplay.
Now, what they did say a long time ago is that they would like all the items to be physicalized. Something that we've seen in the CitizenCon a long time ago. I believe that this was in 2019, right? The first Microtech CitizenCon, where people eventually went to Pyro as well. Remember that one? That was a long time ago, right? Well, if you remember, some of the suits that the characters were wearing in that demo were actually all physicalized, and we could see them literally, right? Even the armors. And I really hope that that's what we're talking about here, that we'll be able to take them, grab them, put them in those boxes, and then the inventory system
A
will go
big
away.
change that's coming up is going to be having properties for those boxes. So that could be something like a box that's fragile,
Oh dear.
or a box that could be radioactive, or that needs to be kept cold. The other thing we're looking at with cargo and cargo boxes is the ability to store large items in your cargo boxes. This could be anything from a ship weapon to even smaller vehicles like Grey Cats.
Oh, that's cool.
That way, when you're going with your friends, you're going to do a long haul across the verse, you can have these larger boxes filled to the brim with as many ship weapons as your ship is going to carry.
Anything that you think you want to take with you and hold on to, now you can put them in an inventory container box, snap them into the cargo grid, and haul it into your ship additionally.
So that means that the magic inventory of the ships will be gone. If you want that to be in the inventory of your ship, you're gonna have to put that in the inventory box, which means that all of that is going to take 1 SCU of space that you would not be able to use for your cargo, by the way, if you're a cargo holder. You're gonna have to think about that as well.
You'll be able to take those to the
But
freight
it's
platform.
one step closer to make it everything physicalized in the
in
game.
order to put them into your inventories. So it gives a kind of universal way to haul things around in the game, as well as a way for players to be able to pirate player inventories now.
Nice. And then the ship is in soft death mode. Go in, open the door, still the
Now that you have these goods that are locked up together in these inventory containers, it just takes a tractor beam in order to carry them off. So it gives a lot of gameplay possibilities for us to
Wait
have.
a second,
with
how
these
do you
loose
get a
items.
32 SU container in a Cutlass?
A lot of these things will tie into missions and where you decide to place them on your ship. So we're really trying to make sure with cargo, it's not just a wide system, but that we're actually adding these kind of elements to help further gameplay, missions.
Oh, so that's how you do it. So you can put a 30 USU cargo container in your Critlas, but you have to open both side doors. And then how do you get in the cockpit after, right? I suppose parrots have to be creative.
And purpose.
Yeah, the
You
visual,
guys had the week off.
the gameplay capture team definitely
This
loves
is a
their job.
design brief show. It's talking and it's intent, and none of this stuff is ready to show yet. Don't you want a week off? Your stuff's so weird anyway.
They have
No.
These guys have like the best job in the world. And like, if I were part of that team, every day would be a day off because I'd be playing the game and having fun doing some machinima. It's basically machinima work for ISC. Can it get better than that? That's the most brilliant game in. That's the most brilliant job in the world.
No weird stuff for Cargo Grid. Back to the spaceship.
We have some additional changes that we're going to be making to the cargo grids that allow them to have any sized item attached into them. At the
Wow.
moment, we have effectively one kinds of items that attach to the cargo grids. Those are the cargo boxes, and they all have
What
a
about
similar size step on the dimension. And what I just mean by that is they're all what we call a 1 SEU length multiples on each side. We're going to have it to where anything can attach to the cargo grid as long as it's a physical item in the game.
What? Including ships, people, picos, bombs? So what's going to be the point of a cargo box then?
Anything that you can grab with that tractor beam that can reasonably snap into place will be able to snap into place. And this is a requirement just to satisfy the inventory changes that we're making now that you won't have this kind of magical access. But it also, I think, broadens the horizons about what your cargo grid and all of your ships can be used for. I think it'll also open up a lot of fun gameplay around just figuring out how to arrange all these things in a way that works
like
well.
a shop inside your ship. Did you see that?
So yeah, that's part one of our talk about Design Brief Cargo Career. Next week, we'll be back with changes to vehicles and location inventory, larger cargo item support, kiosk changes, the item bank,
Oh,
and even unique
kiosk
item
changes.
recovery. So come on back and get the full scope of things next week.
All right. Well, this was definitely a very interesting episode of Inside Star Citizen about what is going to come eventually in the future. And if they can pull this off, it's definitely going to make Star Citizen feel even more realistic than it really is, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.